Hello, this is the Auto Hub. It's a design proposal for an industrial area in Tampa focused on autonomous urban transportation operation done by Marina Julia Abimbola. So talking about the site orientation, the site is located in the United States, Florida, Tampa. A little bit about Tampa. It's a population of 392,890. Tampa is on the west coast of Florida on the Tampa Bay near the Gulf of Mexico. And Tampa is the third largest city in Florida after Miami and Jacksonville. So we see here on the Florida map, the red is highlighted as the freeways. So driving from Tampa to Jacksonville, it's about 3 hour drive, and from Tampa to Miami, it's a 4 hour drive. The problem statement is increasing populations and road congestions are amplifying commute time and greenhouse gas emissions. Autonomous vehicles are projected as a future urban solution. So some of the existing issues that we have currently on the site include abandoned roads, unsafe exits, and unfriendly pedestrian intersections, and a large parking lot that we're going to talk about later. To compare the transportation modes for Tampa and the United States, we see that for the auto, Tampa has a higher average than the average of the United States and has a lower percentage for the carpool and transit than the average for the United States.
All road leads to Tampa. It's important to note if our site actually allows for autonomous vehicles if we want to propose autonomous urban solutions. Since 2012, autonomous vehicles have been lawfully allowed on Florida highways, and in 2019, testing of autonomous vehicles was allowed without drivers. As you can see in green is the Selman Expressway, which runs through our site. And it's a perfect testing bed because it allows reversible overhead lanes, which means that traffic is allowed to flow in different directions depending on the volume of traffic at any given time. Also, it's an urban roadway which allows for diverse modes of transportation and leads to major nodes, downtown, Tampa, and the airport. Also, there are overhead gantries to monitor the systems and office facilities to help navigate the system. Also, it's important to know that this is a major arterial way.
Each year, there is an estimate of 1.2 million deaths worldwide caused by automobile collisions. These levels of automation shown on the left and when they were released to the public on the right were made to reduce this number. Today, we most commonly see levels 0 or 1 on the road. Level 0 warns the driver of lane departure and blind spots, and level 1 includes features such as cruise control and brake support. For our design proposal, we would like to implement level 4, which is full self-driving capabilities. We know that there are many pros to implementing autonomous vehicles into everyday lifestyle, but there are also some cons. Starting with the pros, autonomous vehicles are proposed to speed up traffic by 35%, reduce car wrecks by 81%, and reduce fuel consumption by 90%. On the other hand, autonomous cars have a possibility of being hacked to get a hold of users' personal information and even the control of the car. Another con is that with the introduction of autonomous transportation, there is no need for driving jobs. And the result of this, there will be proposed loss of 1 million jobs. Lastly, the average autonomous car costs about 10 times as much as today's average car.
Transportation is a major contributor to greenhouse emissions. Transportation is the largest source of planet-warming greenhouse gases in the United States. And transportation contributes to about 1/3 of those greenhouse gases. And coming a close second is industry. And this just shows that for industry to be lower, there are more sustainable practices involved. Part of this 1/3, 250 million passenger cars contribute to 60% of the emissions from transportation, and 17% from ships and planes, 23% from freight vehicle. And between 1990 and 2017, there has been a 22% increase in greenhouse emissions from transportation. Looking at a regional scale, Tampa from 1990 to 2017, there has been an increase, a 55% increase of total emissions in Tampa, and also a 4% increase per person emissions, which means that more people are using cars in Tampa, Florida. In comparison to other cities, you have Jacksonville with a 53% increase, but a 5% decrease in per person emissions, which is the same for Florida, meaning that less people are using cars, but the population has probably increased in those areas.
So after looking at the existing issues, we wanted to know more about Tampa and our site. So we did a suitability model for following those 4 steps. So we first identified the related factors, geographic information and traffic related, looking at data cleaning, data organization, and literature review. Then we collected the data for geographic. We looked at the lane cover, population density, building density in schools. And for traffic, we looked at the annual average daily traffic, commute time, and speed limit. Then we created a rating system from 1 to 5, 1 being the least and 5 being the most. Then finally we overlaid all the layers and created a zoomed in map for the site. So looking here at the left at the green, the population density and the building density, as the density increases, the more vulnerable it is because of the traffic congestion and pollution, as there will be more people. And for the building density, due to that will be more building footprint. For schools, we did not have any schools in our site. However, there was some close by our site. So we see here that our site has most vulnerable being the darkest green and least vulnerable being the lightest. Then we also looked at the annual average daily traffic. We see that our site falls in a very vulnerable area. In terms of the commute time, it's the commute time to work. Our site falls in the 31 to 35 minutes. And in terms of speed limit, it was the highest due to the 2 highways that run in our site. So looking at everything, we see that our site is very vulnerable to traffic congestion, as we see on the right red map right here.
Seeing that our site is quite vulnerable to traffic congestion, it's also important to know what the surrounding context around our site is. As you can see in yellow, majority of the site is surrounded by single-family areas, so mostly residential, and a few institutional areas. So on the northern side of the site, you have Grand Park, we have East Lake Orion Park, we have Ybor City, we have Winston Park, Green Ridge Estate, Palm River, Chermel, and also, as you can see, we have the Palm Beach River that runs along our site, and this river feeds onto McKay Bay. Also, as you can see, we have 2 major arterial roads that run through our site, one leading to downtown Tampa and the other to Brandon, and also Tampa Heights.
Looking at the existing land use, we see that there are different types of zones. We see here that the light industrial is 30.50 and the heavy industrial is 7.60. However, if we look at the future land use, we see that there are less variety of different types of zones, and the heavy industrial dramatically changed to 54% and 18% being the light industrial.
Here we will look at distribution areas, knowing that distribution companies are a major contributor to congestion, and here we have the Amazon Flex Distribution Center over here. We have CSX Tampa, which is here, and CSX Tampa is a major distribution company that deals with freight movement and tracking, and they are in charge of this rail yard on our site. We have Tampa Distribution Center, which is all of this area, and they distribute different forms of freight to and fro Tampa. We have soil tech distribution, we have USPS, and we have a different companies that deal with distribution in Tampa.
This map shows the road hierarchy highlighting the current freeways, principal arterials, minor arterials, collector roads, local roads, and railroads in our site. As you can see, there are two main freeways that run through our site, which makes our site a good location for the introduction of autonomous vehicles in Tampa. This map shows the existing sidewalks and bike lanes in our site. As you can see, there are very few bike lanes located in our site. This is another site issue we are going to fix.
Here we show existing bus routes, and we have the Heart Limited Express routes, which runs along the Selman Expressway. We have 60LX that runs from Fish Hawk to South Tampa. We have 24LX that runs from Bloomingdale to South Tampa. We have the cross country line. We have the Brandon and South Tampa lines. Also, we have the Heart Local routes that runs through N50th Street along our side, and you can see that we have different bus stops along this route.
This is the existing cross-section of the Selma Expressway located in our site. As you can see, there are two levels to this freeway, one main upper level that has 3 lanes and two lower levels that have 2 lanes. This next cross-section shows the commercial area that our group is redesigning into a mixed-use area. Currently, this commercial area is located on one of the main principal arterial streets in our site and has 3 train tracks crossing over on the street. Considering all the current opportunities and issues with our site and the surrounding area, our group has decided to design an autonomous hub. This implementation and other design strategies will be explained in the following slides. This graphic shows the external bus routes in Tampa. We decided on 4 possible locations for the buses based off the everyday behaviors of the population. The first location, the University of Tampa, was chosen because it is the biggest university in the city, and college students typically will look for other forms of transportation besides driving if convenient for them. The next location is downtown Tampa. This is a very commonly visited spot in the city and includes many different restaurants, bars, and offices. The next location is the Channel District. This is another popularly visited area and where many museums and an aquarium is located. Lastly, Uptown Tampa is a large residential area and also the location of an amusement park and some botanical gardens.
And this is our second design strategy. We intend to create internal autonomous transit routes within our site, and we would have the Auto Hub providing different forms of transportation and a multimodal transit system where we would have autonomous vehicles, autonomous buses, e-bicycles, e-scooters, trams, and of course water taxis. And with all of these systems, we would have a seamless integration providing real-time information, and we will provide this real-time information with the use of an integrated monitoring systems. So we will be able to our users will be able to know exactly when buses are available, and also encourage ride sharing. With this integrated monitoring system, we would have automated smart networks. So this would be different stations within the site where people can actually charge these vehicles and also order from some of these vehicles. This autonomous transit routes would serve 3 basic areas in our site, which would be the main distribution area, the CSX intermodal terminal, and the mixed-use neighborhood, commercial and residential.
Since 1/3 of our site is in the 100 floodplain, we thought about protecting it from flooding, like doing the mobile flood protection wall that would be put in place whenever needed, as well as elevating buildings and adding greenery surrounding the site.
While taking ideas and designs from our 3 design strategies, we created our master plan. We focused our designs to be based on our new autonomous transportation systems. Our main design focus was the Auto Hub and the connections to it and around the site. These labels on our master plan show our ideas and purposes for each section of our site, starting with the main focus of our site, the Auto Hub, which is labeled out as 1. The Auto Hub is where all of our forms of transportations we are implementing is located, besides the trains. The train depot is located at number 2 and is the main train station for both transportation of people and supplies. The next form of transportation is the water taxis. These 3 docks located at 3 are where people can get on water taxis and take it anywhere along the river, including downtown. Another focus of our site is the Autonomous Research Facility. This is where our autonomous vehicles will be tested and repaired. Other changes made to the site include mixed-use area located at number 5, multi-family housing located at 7 and 8, and commercial areas that were repurposed into retail areas, office spaces, restaurants, grocery stores, and a mall.
This is our proposed land use map, of which our programming is influenced by, and here you see that our site is divided up into 10 different areas. So here you see the single family units on the northern side of our site, and we've more or less retained these areas. Also, we have the multi-family areas on our site, and we've located this around single family to sort of create a sustainable economy within the site and within these areas. We also have the heavy commercial, which is along a major intersection on our site and also close to the hub. We've done that because we want to attract people to these areas and encourage the use of public transportation. Also, we have light commercial. Light commercial we've placed along some of the major arterial and also around single family and mixed use family to encourage the work-life balance for people, so people can walk around their homes and also run businesses and small businesses. Also, we have the mixed use development, which is quite important to our site because we wanted to also create a high density area on our site, and this is in conjunction with the city's land use map 2.11, the land use policy that says the city would like to encourage high impact density areas and also take advantage of major transportation roads, major transportation corridors. Also, we have offices along the major roads, and we have public institution that is located within different residential areas to form districts. So we have here, this is a health district, we have here a school district, and we have like an institutional district over here. And then also we have retained majority of the light commercial and heavy commercial on our site. We've done this in conjunction with the industrial land use policy that encourages maintaining land use areas on sites. So that's we have done. We have green areas which we have located to sort of create a buffer from this industrial area, and we also have created green areas along the site, a riparian buffer to sort of mitigate stormwater and also to clean up the water that comes from the industrial area before it gets to the river. Here we have the road hierarchy map, and in maroon we have the principal arterial, which is the Selman Expressway, and feeding off, and in black you have the minor arterial, which feeds off of the principal arterial. And it's important to note that we've created a major loop around the site with the minor arterial, creating a good and a sustainable transportation network. And also we have the collector roads, which feed off the minor arterial and then onto local roads. Initially, the site had a lot of local roads that ended abruptly, but we've tried to create an integrated system to encourage public transportation within the site. Here we have a green connectivity which we've spoken about in the land use map. So we have parks and recreation. These we have located within residential areas to sort of encourage that active living lifestyle in these areas. We have the industrial and riparian buffer, which helps with the mitigation of flooding and the purification of industrial waste before it gets to the river. Also, we have the rail yard corridor, because as much as we want the rail yard to be all industrial, we would like for it to have green spaces around to create a sustainable environment. Also, we have greenways. This is really to foster public transportation and the use of multimodal systems of transportation. So with the green belt around the roadways, this encourages people to walk, to ride their bikes, and this also helps with runoff from the roadways as well.
This map shows the highlighted buildings that we decided to keep as they are on our site. We decided to keep 910 buildings on the site. The majority of these buildings are currently single-family housing, industrial sites, and public institutions. We felt that it was important to keep these three types of buildings as they are and follow their current land use policies. This map shows the new and repurposed buildings on our site. 189 buildings were removed from the site and 194 new buildings were put in their place. These include new transportation-related buildings, the mixed-use buildings, multifamily complexes, and some commercial areas that we repurposed. As discussed previously, this is our Auto Hub. Our Auto Hub has the technology and equipment for all of the forms of our autonomous transportation. This includes buses, water taxis, car ride shares, electric bikes, and electric scooters. All of this autonomous technology is powered by solar energy to reduce the carbon emissions, which is one of the current issues on our site.
For the external route, we will have the Hyperloop in orange, which will go to different cities in Florida, and we will have the red in here, which is the external auto bus route, which will go to Channel District, University of Tampa, as well as different cities in Florida. We will also have the auto water taxi, which is in green right here. And for the internal routes, we will have in pink right here is the main auto bus, and we will have from that the feeder bus line, which is in blue, as well as also the auto taxi line.
Here we have an aerial perspective of our proposed master plan, and this is really just to show how our plan relates to its surrounding context. Here we have a zoomed in aerial of our hub, showing its relationship to the Selman Expressway and how there's a loop in which the buses, the cars, the vehicles, the automated vehicles flow through the hub and out, and also this way. Also, we have a green roof on the hub because we know that our site is on a floodplain, and this helps with the mitigation of flood stormwater. Also, we have the solar panels that help with provision of energy. Here is just a perspective showing that the busyness of the hub and how traffic flows through. So this is the one-way street that goes round the hub and out, and also goes into the hub and out. And here we have dining, outdoor dining. We have a bus stop. We have bicycle racks, and these are just some of the AV vehicles. Here we have the water taxis. We have a station, a drop-off area for people that want to take water taxis. We have this trail corridor that runs along the riparian buffer so people can still access the water taxi and the hub from this part of the site.
This is the first section, which is located right here at a mixed-use area. We have kept the same street width, however, we completely redesigned it to add a bike lane barrier, as well as the transportation lane. Those bike lane barriers will also be used as small platforms to get on those transportation. Some of the design also will include bermable paving, which will enable the infiltration of the stormwater runoff, virtual system screens to order an autonomous vehicle from the depot or the hub, reflective coating, which is a paint to help with the urban heat island on the road, as well as green rooftops, which will help also reduce the volume of stormwater. For the second section, it will be located right here at an industrial area. We have completely redesigned this area to add tram, the Hyperloop, and way more green buffer area to help reduce the pollution coming from those industries. For the Hyperloop, this is a map showing the route in our site. There will be a main stop right here at the depot, and there will also be permeable paving as well as the virtual system screens.
Here we just have a close-up perspective showing the multimodal station where people can order different forms of transportation services. We have virtual systems for people to interact with. We have a charging spot for scooters. This is just showing the relationship with different forms of transportation within the hub.
This perspective drawing shows the train depot located in the existing rail yard in our site. The train depot is used as a large train station and as a stop for the Hyperloop. This also shows the public interaction around the depot and the new and futuristic technology to order train tickets.
For this perspective, it's located at the mixed-use area, showing the different interactions and activities going on. And finally, for potential funding options for the project, there are three different ones that we're going to talk about. So first, for debt, it could be a private debt. The money can be borrowed from industrial loan companies or commercial banks. It could be bond financing. This is typically offered with a lower interest rate by issuing bonds instead of borrowing money from private lenders. And specialized debt infrastructure. The local government can also access debt mechanism designed by the state or the federal government to help finance particular types of infrastructure. Second are grants. Those don't have to be paid back. It's usually offered by a higher level of government to a lower level. So, for example, the federal transportation grants, so Tampa could access these funds through the State Department of Transportation. And finally, equity. So, equity allows for private entities to invest a stake in infrastructure expecting a return. This is usually available for infrastructure that generates a huge return. So it would be infrastructure investment funds. These are pools of funds that are collected from different investors to invest in the infrastructure, or public-private partnership, which is an agreement between the private sector and the public agency where the assets and skills of each are shared to deliver a service. Thank you.